When I was 10, my family decided to start a new tradition, opening one present on Christmas Eve. It sounded harmless and fun. Just one gift to tide us over until Christmas morning. That year, the snowstorm outside was fierce, the wind howling like a warning. The power had gone out earlier, so we were gathered around the fireplace with candles flickering and shadows dancing across the walls. My little brother Max was the first to choose a gift. He picked the biggest box under the tree, a shiny red package with a silver ribbon. "Go ahead," my mom said, smiling. "It's Christmas Eve." Max tore into the paper like any 6-year-old would. Inside was a wooden nutcracker, painted with bright glossy colors, and grinning from ear to ear. "I didn't buy that," my dad muttered, his brow furrowing. "Neither did I," my mom said. Max didn't care. He loved the thing instantly, holding it close and running his fingers over its sharp wooden teeth. "Where did it come from?" I asked. Nobody had an answer. That night, Max insisted on keeping the nutcracker in his room. He propped it up on his nightstand, facing his bed, and gave it a name, Mr. Cracks. The storm raged on as we all went to bed. I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of creaking floorboards. At first, I thought it was the wind, but then I heard it again, deliberate, rhythmic-like footsteps. I got up and peeked into the hallway. It was empty, but Max's door was slightly ajar. "Max?" I whispered, stepping closer. The door creaked open, revealing his room bathed in shadows. Max was sitting upright in bed, staring at something in the corner. His face was pale, his lips trembling. "Max, what's wrong?" He didn't answer. I followed his gaze to the corner, where the nutcracker was now standing. Its wooden grin seemed wider, its eyes gleaming even in the darkness. "Who moved it?" I asked, my voice shaking. "I didn't," Max whispered. The next morning, Max didn't come downstairs. When my parents went to check on him, I heard my mom scream. I ran to his room only to find Max lying motionless in bed. His face was twisted in terror, his small hands clutching the blanket like he was trying to protect himself. The nutcracker was still there, sitting on the nightstand, its grin impossibly wide. My dad stood frozen in the doorway, pale as a ghost. My mom knelt by the bed, shaking Max, begging him to wake up, her sobs echoing in the silent room. What is that thing?" My dad finally whispered, pointing at the nutcracker. My mom looked up, her tear-streaked face contorted with rage. "Get rid of it! Now!" I followed my dad downstairs, clutching the railing as he grabbed the nutcracker and hurled it into the fireplace. We stood there together watching as the flames consumed it, the wood curling and blackening until it was nothing but ash. I thought it was over. That night, I woke to the sound of creaking floorboards again. My stomach turned to ice. I squeezed my eyes shut, telling myself it was nothing. But then I heard it, the faint, deliberate clack of wooden feet on the floor. When I finally opened my eyes, the nutcracker was there, standing at the foot of my bed. Its grin was wider, its painted eyes gleaming. I froze, unable to breathe. I tried to convince myself it wasn't real. Maybe I was dreaming. Maybe the grief of losing Max was messing with my head, but the Nutcracker took a step forward. Then another. I screamed, bolting upright, but when my parents burst in, the room was empty. "What's wrong?" my mom asked, her voice still raw from crying. "The Nutcracker," I sobbed. It was here." They didn't believe me, or maybe they didn't want to. We buried Max on New Year's Eve. No one dared mention the Nutcracker again. No one dared open a present on Christmas Eve. But last night, as I was unpacking decorations with my own daughter, I found it in a dusty box in the attic, and now it's grinning at me.